Thank you for joining us here today for an update on the cyber attack, which hit Suffolk County on September 8th. I want to recognize my colleagues who have been on the front lines managing this emergency from the beginning. First and foremost, Chief Deputy County Executive Lisa Black, who has done a phenomenal job leading our response. Deputy County Executive Vanessa Baird Streeter, who coordinated a critical payment operation. FRES Commissioner Pat Beckley, Police Commissioner Rodney Harrison, who provided daily updates as part of our emergency management calls. And to all of our commissioners and department heads for their great work in managing through this incredibly challenging environment. I want to thank our cybersecurity expert, Mike Balboni from Redland Strategies, who is here today. Mike has been critical to our response to this unprecedented cyber attack. I also want to acknowledge Palo Alto, a global cyber security firm, for their great work in helping the county to recover. Oh, thank you, Lisa. And finally, and most importantly, I want to recognize and express my heartfelt gratitude to our IT team, led by Commissioner Scott Mastellon and Deputy Commissioner Ari McKenzie. They have worked tirelessly, leading their team to help our county respond to this emergency. This county is incredibly fortunate to have both of these stellar IT professionals, particularly in this moment of crisis. We have an outstanding IT department filled with hardworking public servants who do a great job for this county, and I want to thank all of them for what they've done throughout this emergency. As I said, we're here this afternoon to provide an update on the cyber attack. Early on, I said that this cyber incident had all the hallmarks of a ransomware attack. I can say now that Suffolk County has been the victim of a crime, a significant crime, and one that many have seen and often has international dimensions. I want to thank our partners in law enforcement charged with investigating such crimes, Suffolk County District Attorney Ray Tierney, the FBI, and the U.S. Department of Homeland Security that we've coordinated with. Our thanks to New York State, which has been a terrific partner. Chris Desane, the Chief Information Security Officer, Jackie Bray, New York State Commissioner, New York State Division of Homeland Security Emergency Services, the New York State Police, Colin Ahern, the cyber advisor to the governor, and to Governor Hochul, who has made cybersecurity a top priority. As you know, this current emergency began on September 8th. The criminal actors here sought a $2.5 million ransom. Early on in this process, I determined that I would not support paying a ransom. First of all, payment is no guarantee that the criminal actors will honor their commitment or that they won't come back later to extract additional demands. But more importantly, we don't know who these criminal actors are. Are they terrorists? Are they engaged in sex trafficking? Are they engaged in activities that are hostile to our nation's interest? By paying this ransom, would we be using Suffolk County taxpayer dollars to fund operations that could do harm to human life? We don't know the answer to that, and I was not prepared to take that chance. We have focused like a laser on two things: continuing to provide critical services in this challenging environment, and to conduct a forensic examination to determine what happened and to mitigate the damage to the maximum extent possible. This has been costly. To date, we've spent $3.4 million on restoration and $2 million for the forensic examination. At the beginning of this emergency, one thing cybersecurity experts said and emphasized was that in a cyber attack, you need to carefully measure your comments because the criminal actors are monitoring the media for clues about what you are saying and what actions you may be taking. They will also use the media as a means to communicate with you and also to threaten you. This is why early on I emphasized with my colleagues in this government the need to be very careful about what we are communicating. I want to thank my colleagues in the legislature and in the executive branch who have conducted themselves responsibly and professionally throughout this emergency. At this point in time, we have made sufficient progress in our recovery process to allow me to outline some of the definitive key events thus far from the forensic examination. Let me start by highlighting a public statement that was made by an elected official in county government shortly after the September 8th cyber attack on county systems. The county clerk was quoted in media reports stating that the attack did not occur in my office. The forensic examination has definitively determined that this is, in a word, wrong. It is completely wrong. And it's an example of why you do not engage in speculation. Never a good practice, but particularly problematic when responding to an emergency that's brought about by criminal activity. Now, to be clear, the clerk is not in any way attempting to mislead people. I know the clerk very well. I have worked closely with her, and I respect her. Unfortunately, in making this statement, and in others made subsequently, she has relied on information provided to her by the clerk's IT director, someone in whom she had faith, but who seriously misled her. This individual's actions deceived the county clerk and caused significant damage to this county, as will become clear as I outline key events from the forensic examination. What the clerk has experienced here, we have all dealt with in our lives. She trusted someone who, in the end, was not deserving of that trust. The key finding of the forensic examination thus far is that the criminal actors first infiltrated the county clerk's IT environment 1 year ago this month, back in December of 2021. At the outset, it is important to note that the clerk IT environment is operated independently of county IT. This structure has been in place for many years and prior to the start of this administration. In 2019, the clerk IT team also took over control of the controller's IT environment. As you can see in this email, dated January 31st, 2019, from the controller's office, which states, "We have begun the process of having all of our information and technology and computer issues handled by the Suffolk County Clerk's Office IT staff." In effect, the county IT leadership had no eyes on and no ability to monitor the clerk IT environment, and since 2019, the controller IT environment for the most part as well. As part of their independent status, the clerk IT director insisted that all incoming traffic be allowed to bypass the county IT perimeter firewall and flow directly to their separate departmental firewall. It's like having a security system in your home. You have security cameras in every room except one. Security cameras are operable except in that one dark area, which represents the clerk's office. The forensic examination found that the criminal actors were able to operate in the clerk's environment for 8 months, beginning in late December 2021, and then after acquiring the credentials, the necessary IT credentials, they were ultimately able to migrate to the county IT environment in late August, just 18 days prior to the attack. Along the way, there were numerous missed opportunities to disrupt or thwart this attack due to this pre-existing decentralized structure and because of numerous failures by the person in charge of the clerk's IT environment, the clerk IT director, including the failure to implement key security measures, the withholding of critical information, and other inexplicable actions. So let's go through the timeline. This cyber incident began just a short time after county law enforcement exposed an illegal Bitcoin mining operation in the county clerk's office. As has been widely reported, a top clerk IT official, Chris Naples, was arrested and then arraigned on September 8th, 2021, to the day exactly 1 year prior to the attack on the county system. The Bitcoin mining crime discovered in the clerk's office was a massive operation. According to media reports, a total of 46 separate pieces of computer hardware had been installed in the clerk's IT environment to support the illegal operation, with equipment hidden in the walls and under the floorboards, all of which makes it difficult to understand how the director of IT for the clerk was unable to discover what was literally happening beneath their feet and all around their environment, despite the fact that there were significant indications of problems. The illegal Bitcoin mining operation was drawing massive amounts of electricity, driving up the county's energy costs, and consuming so much computer bandwidth that other county employees working on the weekend in Hauppauge couldn't access the internet because of the Bitcoin mining operation, and they needed that in order to do their jobs. They literally could not access those internet-based services. On top of that, this illegal operation was using so much energy, these 46 devices were generating an enormous amount of heat, significantly raising the temperature in the clerk's IT environment, rather than prompting the clerk IT director to investigate what might be causing an unexplained 20-degree rise in temperature in that space they're responsible for managing. This individual instead chose to blame the county facilities employee for failing to cool the room properly. The clerk IT director should have known. Instead of examining every single device in that environment to find out what was going on, this individual effectively chose instead to berate the HVAC employee. The illegal Bitcoin mining operation may offer some explanation to why a key security upgrade for the clerk's office, originally approved for purchase in September of 2019 at a cost of $1.4 million, had not been implemented at the time of Chris Naples' arrest almost 2 years later. This hardware, called VxRail, allows you to converge multiple servers into one environment, enabling centralized monitoring. So why would this security hardware not be installed? The most obvious explanation: if you're Chris Naples, the architect of the clerk's IT environment, running an illegal Bitcoin mining operation, you're not going to want outside vendors and other internal IT folks moving things around in that environment. We now know that the failure to upgrade or to implement the VxRail security apparatus, to simply leave it sitting there unused, may have enabled the criminal actors to successfully enter the clerk's environment for the first time on December 19th and December 20th of last year. We cannot know for certain, but it is very possible, had this security upgrade been made, had it been put in place, the initial attack may have been thwarted. Now, it's possible, even plausible, that you could cite the pandemic as the reason for the delay in implementing the VxRail. But what possible reason could there be for not expediting the implementation of this security upgrade in the fall of 2021 after the illegal Bitcoin mining operation has been exposed in the clerk's environment? In fact, after Chris Naples' arrest, County IT sent personnel to the clerk's office to assist in deciphering and understanding the IT architecture that Naples had built there. Central IT staff worked together with clerk IT personnel to develop a priority list of items for the office. At the top of that list was the implementation of the VxRail. Not only was the VxRail not implemented in the fall of 2021 in time to thwart the criminal actors' initial entry into the county system. At the time of the September 8th attack, almost a year later, the VxRail still had not been implemented. The forensic examination identified a Log4j vulnerability as the initial entry point into the county clerk's office by the criminal actors on December 20th and 21st, December 19th and 20th, I should say. Log4j is simply a logging tool in the programming language called Java, which is a common computing platform. What is significant to note here is that the clerk IT director had been warned and was well aware of the Log4j vulnerability. On December 10th, 2021, a notice was issued by the U.S. Department of Homeland Security, the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, advising of this vulnerability. County IT immediately responded with a number of moves to protect the county IT environment. County IT held a total of 71 meetings with county agencies regarding this threat. As a result of the forensic examination, we now know with certainty that while the clerk IT director knew of the vulnerability, he failed to protect the county clerk's IT infrastructure from this threat. The forensic examination shows that 6 months after the criminal actors entered the clerk's environment through the Log4j vulnerability, the clerk IT director still had done nothing to remedy the vulnerability. The forensic examination also found that in January, the criminal actors installed Bitcoin mining software in the clerk's office to establish command and control connection within the clerk's compromised IT environment. The criminal actors were continuing to operate in the clerk's environment undetected. On January 31st, County IT forwarded the clerk's IT staff a security alert, which had popped up as the result of a single personal computer in the clerk's office. Again, because the clerk IT environment is managed independently, there was no way for County IT to become directly involved to validate, troubleshoot, or resolve any alerts from the clerk's system because the clerk staff had insisted that county IT security should have no visibility or access to the clerk's systems. The alert in this case was for a coin miner command and control application of high severity. The clerk's IT director dismissed the issue. The only substantive response back to County IT was that it seems to be some random hosting site that we do not use. We now know that this alert was a major missed opportunity to prevent or mitigate the cyber attack. Had the clerk IT director at that point treated this seriously and investigated aggressively this alert, the criminal actors might have been stopped in their tracks before they were able to gain an even greater foothold in the clerk's environment. In February, there was another missed opportunity to enhance security within the clerk's IT environment. As part of continuing efforts to strengthen IT security, County IT issued a purchase order that would help establish a joint security operations center with the clerk's office. While not as ideal as having one centralized security operation covering the county's entire IT operation or enterprise, the Joint Security Operations Center would at least enhance the security of the clerk's environment under the existing decentralized structure. The clerk IT director did not begin to engage with Presidio, the cybersecurity vendor selected to manage the Security Operations Center, until August 18th, just 3 weeks before the attack. The forensic examination revealed that during this period, the criminal actors were working to establish persistence in the environment and to harvest or obtain credentials. Credentials are like a pass or permission to operate in the IT environment. The objective being pursued by the criminal actors here was to secure credentials at a high enough level that they could maneuver easily through the county IT environment. The significance of this will become apparent as we continue with the timeline. In May, the clerk IT director brought 3 requests to the IT Steering Committee, which is a joint executive branch, legislative branch panel. In June, the committee unanimously approved $700,000 worth of security upgrades for the clerk's office. They also informed the clerk's office that the county already possessed the additional security upgrades that they were seeking, and that county IT was ready to implement and to expedite implementation of that hardware in the clerk's environment. The committee noted that county IT was in the process of implementing the exact same security infrastructure in the district attorney's office. Commissioner Mastellon, in an email to the clerk, noted that the county had made significant investments in best-of-breed security technologies for the exact reasons you identified below, and we will work with all departments to ensure they are protected against all potential cyber threats. As we've stated to your staff, we stand ready to support the clerk's office in implementing these existing security technologies alongside your existing VxRails implementation. Of course, we know the VxRail was never implemented prior to the September 8th attack. The clerk IT director refused the offer to implement the existing security technology, and importantly, as of this date, still has not implemented the $700,000 in security upgrades that were authorized by the IT Steering Committee. Another missed opportunity to potentially thwart the cyber intrusion occurred in June, 2 months before the criminal actors were able to migrate from the clerk's office to the county IT system. On June 21st, county IT was contacted by the Suffolk County District Attorney's Office about possible ransomware in the county system. The DA's office had received information from a New York State court officer who had received a call from a friend, a retired detective, who had been contacted by an FBI agent. Once the information was received by the IT the county IT security officer, Brian Bartholomew, he immediately contacted each of the people involved, speaking directly to the court officer and the FBI agent. Based on those discussions, he was able to determine that the issue occurred not in the county IT environment, but in the county clerk's office. In an email on June 22nd at 8:04 in the morning, Brian said that he spoke with the FBI agent the night before and was able to ascertain that the issue is associated to the Suffolk County Clerk office. I've reached out to the county clerk's office, segregated from Suffolk County, to either confirm or deny there is an issue, but I have not received a response from the clerk team, and I did include their IT director in the email. I will update everyone as soon as I get a response from the clerk. Again, because the county IT security officer had no direct ability to access or monitor the clerk IT environment, he forwarded the information to the clerk IT director and asked what was happening. Later that morning, the county IT security officer notified all involved, including all law enforcement agencies, that the clerk's office verified there was no issues within their environment. No issues within their environment. The response from the clerk IT director about possible ransomware in their environment was nothing on our side. However, later that same day, the clerk IT director sent out an email announcing that users of their VDI system would no longer be able to work remotely due to a, quote, significant security flaw. So just hours after denying that there was any problem, the clerk's office was taking steps that show that they did clearly have a problem. No county IT staff were copied on that email. Worse yet, when IT security learned about the email and requested more information about the significant security flaw, the clerk IT staff didn't even respond. Had the clerk IT director simply advised IT security that a significant security flaw had been identified, a full response could have been mounted 8 weeks before the criminal actors migrated from the clerk's office to the county system. Would that have ended the threat in late June? Unfortunately, we'll never know. Just a few weeks later, as they continued their credential harvesting, the forensic report indicates that the criminal actors hit upon what one of the cybersecurity experts conducting the review called the credential harvesting motherlode. The criminal actors discovered a folder on the clerk's system labeled Iron Key. Now, Iron Key refers to an external hard drive USB that hosts sensitive data, things like passwords, things that you don't want on the network that any IT professional would know not to keep on the network in case it is attacked. This folder contained a file called TM Passwords. On July 13th, the criminal actors exfiltrated the Iron Key folder. And just 3 hours after they grabbed the Iron Key folder, the criminal actors were able to make a major move, laterally moving to the clerk's domain controller. The domain controller is critical because it's like the traffic cop in your system, allowing you to determining where and who may go and operate within that system and go on that network. They made this major move with credentials in the name of Chris Naples, the Clerk IT employee who was arrested for the illegal Bitcoin mining operation 10 months earlier. Now, we cannot be 100% certain what was on the IronKey folder because it was deleted from the clerk's server on September 29th, 3 weeks after the attack occurred. Now, we know that the criminal actors could not have deleted it because the network had been shut down on September 8th. We also know that county IT staff had no access to the clerk's systems. So, who deleted the IronKey folder and why? We strongly suspect that the IronKey folder contained information enabling the criminal actors to secure the higher levels of credentials necessary for them to advance their attack on the county. First, the name of the folder itself, IronKey, suggests that it contains sensitive information. Also, the fact that the criminal actors were able to make such rapid progress just hours after exfiltrating the folder suggests the presence of high-value information. And finally, the IronKey folder itself literally contained a file called TM Passwords. We can only imagine how astonished the criminal actors must have been to find an IronKey folder on the network with a file called TM Passwords. Things started to move more quickly from there. After 8 months of burrowing into the clerk's environment and having obtained high enough level credentials, the criminal actors were able to migrate from the clerk IT environment to the county IT environment on August 20th and 21st, just 18 days before the September 8th attack. On September 2nd, the clerk IT director sent an email to a county IT staff member in the only way I can characterize, an incredibly nonchalant manner, asking if the individual knew anything about the account established in the name of Chris Naples. Hope you're enjoying your vacation, looking for any activity with C. Naple and C. Naples. I is uppercase I, or John. He also sends a similar email to Deputy Commissioner Ari McKenzie on September 7th, the day before the attack. The C. Naples, lowercase l replaced with capital I, account was created on July 12th, 2022 in the message. So we now know that at least by September 2nd, the clerk IT director was aware that a fake account had been created in the clerk environment in the name of the former top aide, Chris Naples, who orchestrated the illegal Bitcoin mining operation in the clerk's office. The question now is, how far back did the clerk IT director know this, and who else knew it? The account is created on July 12th, and the first time this issue is raised with county IT is the Friday of Labor Day weekend, just days before the attack. And when the issue is raised with county IT, is the clerk IT director forthcoming about the concerns? Is the clerk IT director sharing information and details? No. And why not? I believe this question is asked so obliquely on September 2nd because there's an embarrassment there. There's a bruised ego there. Chris Naples, the true architect of the clerk IT environment, was a subordinate who ran a Bitcoin mining operation right under the clerk IT director's nose. This operation cost taxpayers and threatened county security. And yet, the clerk's IT director apparently knew nothing about it. So at some point, the clerk IT director discovers the fake Chris Naples account and apparently concludes that this former employee is engaged in some type of malicious activity in the clerk's office. And the clerk's IT director is trying to figure it out. This individual is afraid of being embarrassed, once again, by Chris Naples. Instead of reaching out to county IT and fully sharing the concerns and laying out everything that this individual knows so that all available resources could be focused on the problem, the clerk IT director says on September 2nd, this individual states, I am in the information gathering stage of what's going on. Once we have that, I can discern what is really going on, at which point we can collectively discuss strategy. That's September 2nd, the Friday of Labor Day weekend. So while the clerk IT director is in a personal information gathering phase, county IT professionals and county cybersecurity vendors are left actively addressing security alerts on an individual basis. The county IT security officer, Brian Bartholomew, says in an email exchange with the clerk IT director on September 1st, we will get this worked out, but I don't believe we need to go to DEFCON 1 just yet. This is a moment for the clerk IT director to share what this individual knows, but instead, nothing. Says nothing. The next day, September 2nd, Brian states in an email to the clerk IT director, there are many coming in from your environment, so let's get on a meeting so everyone is clear on the issue you are referring to. So the IT security officer is ready to pull everyone together so they can understand what the concerns are. And the clerk IT director responds, I am in the information gathering phase. In other words, I'm going to figure this out, then we can all meet. In the short window of time between the criminal actors migrating to the county IT environment from the clerk's office to the attack on September 8th, just 18 days, county IT and county IT security vendors are making judgments having no reason to believe and no way to know that criminal actors are already inside the house. And not only are they in, they are moving around easily with the elevated credentials they secured during their 8 months in the clerk IT environment. After the September 8th attack, the clerk IT director, in a phone call with law enforcement officials, asserted his belief that Chris Naples was behind the cyber attack. County clerk repeated this claim coming from her IT director. With these key events identified from the forensic examination, what seems clear now is that while the clerk IT director was chasing some theory and withholding important information, criminal actors were preparing to launch an attack against the county centered in the clerk's office. In the days and weeks after the attack on September 8th, the clerk IT director continued to mislead the county clerk and comptroller, telling them that their environments were clean and that only county IT was preventing them from being turned back on. Meanwhile, this individual was preventing the forensic examination from moving forward by denying the cybersecurity team access to the clerk's servers. This obstruction at first prevented and then slowed forensic experts in their attempts to examine the clerk IT environment, so that more than 3 months after the main attack commenced, the clerk IT environment still has not been given a clean bill of health. To put that in perspective, every other department, including the district attorney's office and the sheriff's department, every other department in this county was certified as clean by October 17th. The county's response to this attack was to immediately establish an incident command structure, or ICS, to coordinate with law enforcement at all levels, to maintain critical services, and to launch a forensic examination conducted by cybersecurity experts to understand exactly what happened and why it happened. I'm very proud of the job that our team did from the outset to make sure that critical services that our residents count on were maintained or brought back online as quickly as possible. It was an incredible challenge, but they rose to the occasion under very difficult circumstances. The obstruction that we have seen from the clerk IT director stands in stark contrast with the overall county response. That obstruction ends today. In consultation with legislative leadership, I am transferring the clerk IT director to the Department of Information Technology and placing this individual on administrative leave. I've also assigned 2 highly respected, long-serving IT professionals from the Department of Information Technology to the clerk's office to work with the digital forensic team to complete the examination so that we can get the entire county network back online as quickly as possible. Let me conclude by discussing what I believe is the key takeaway from some of the initial events identified in the forensic examination. There are significantly higher risks to the county and its taxpayers from the use of a decentralized IT security infrastructure. To put it very simply, complexity is the enemy of security. And one thing we know for certain, the IT environment grows more complex every day. A single IT security presence with jurisdiction across the entire county IT enterprise is the responsible and necessary approach to protect the government and its taxpayers for the future. The existing system failed county government and the taxpayers, resulting in millions of dollars in unforeseen expenses and the potential exposure of personal information by criminal actors who had infiltrated the county's IT infrastructure through the clerk's office. We now know that the situation was made more complicated by virtue of some of the staff members involved. But the fact is that stovepiping and compartmentalizing IT security is a bad idea, particularly for a large entity like a county government, regardless of what staff are involved. The good news is that we have already made significant progress on this front, thanks to my colleagues in the legislature. Last month, they approved a budget that creates the new Chief Information Security Officer position and a whole new title series dedicated to cybersecurity. As I've said from the very beginning, I am determined that this county will emerge from this emergency in a much stronger position. We've already upgraded our security position as we've worked to recover from this incident by incorporating measures in consultation with legislative leadership, such as multi-factor authentication. In the coming weeks and beyond, we will make additional investments in IT infrastructure that are not directly related to this cyber attack, but that represent smart IT investments that will make this government more effective, more resilient, stronger, and ultimately more secure. The forensic examination, when complete, will also result in other recommendations aimed at strengthening our IT operations and preparing our government for the future. And I will look forward to working with my colleagues in the legislature as they complete their own review to take the steps that are necessary to create the solid and secure IT infrastructure that the people of Suffolk County deserve. With that, happy to take any questions.
Who is the